Oh, pretend the camera isn't on me. Alright, so I'm making this video today, because I think I've noticed a phenomenon, in society, and I want to pin it down. You get me? Anyway, with all that being said, I've noticed something, and I call it situationship socialism, And basically, what I mean by this is, I feel like socialism is here, but nobody wants to put a name on it. You get me? Now, to explain myself here, I'm going to start with a phrase, and this phrase is called the personal is political. And I've said this before, but basically the personal is political. How I kind of understand it is I understand it as a term which basically means that the things that happen in your personal life here and the way we treat each other can also be reflective of society at large, politics at large, economics at large, you get me? So for example, the things we see in our relationships with each other can be reflective of the social, economic, political state of the world at a particular point in time, you get me? For example, nobody owns anything, everybody's kind of financially scarce, people are struggling, there's all this kind of gig economy where people have jobs, people don't. You get all this kind of stuff happening, And I think what's happened is that kind of a lot of people are afraid of responsibility. A lot of people are afraid of ownership. A lot of people are afraid of, you get me, being accountable for their actions. So what happens is that we get a lot of situations where people don't really want to put labels on things. People kind of want the flexibility to come and go as they please. You get me? So situationships kind of demarcate this really well. It's a very sort of vague, open space where you like somebody, but you're not allowed to like them too much. But you do all of the relationship stuff, but you're not allowed to call it a relationship. If you call it a relationship, you're delusional, you're crazy, you get me? But you're doing all the relationship stuff. It's just that nobody wants to call it a relationship, you get me? We are in situationship socialism, you get me? If you look at the way the society is moving right now, for example, China's kind of predicted to be one of the biggest economies in the world soon. They've kind of mastered capitalism. But how they've mastered capitalism is kind of through kind of using socialist practice in a very sort of aggressive way in a capitalist economy. You get me? So they have all these cars, electric cars, for example, going to market. They're competing with AI, with DeepSeek and stuff like that. They produce so many of the world's goods, especially in terms of clothing and stuff like that. So many goods are made in China, you get me? And what's happened there is that now China has a very powerful middle class, you get me? In China, loads of people are millionaires. The middle class there, loads of them are millionaires. It's getting to a point now where apparently in China, because they have so much wealth, for example, a family might have more than one house, multiple houses, and China wanted to address that in their market. So instead of people kind of selling off their houses, what happened is that people actually started divorcing each other. Husbands and wives started divorcing each other so they can kind of keep property, separate property each, instead of selling off the property. Things like that. Things like this is happening. This is how powerful China is right now. You get me? And because China have kind of mastered capitalism through maintaining a socialist policy, but they've been very pragmatic in how they've applied their socialism towards a capitalist world, they're kind of leading the world in a way that has allowed a lot of people to look at China and say, you know what? If we don't do some stuff that they're doing, they're going to leave us behind. You get me? So, for example, in America, you're noticing a lot of these tech companies, how, for example, the government is kind of started to get public stakes in these tech companies. So the government has 10% stake in Intel. They're looking at getting a stake in Anthropic. What's his name? Jeff Bezos may potentially kind of buy up the US Postal Service and kind of do drones and stuff like that. So there might be a relationship between the government and Amazon to kind of use Amazon as sort of the statewide deliverer of goods and logistics. There's all this stuff happening, right? You get me? For example, I know SpaceX, Elon Musk, he's building the rockets for NASA. So all this stuff happening, And what's happening there is that basically the relationship between the public space, the public ownership and private companies is converging and mixing so much that now the public is a stakeholder in essentially the interests of these companies. So for example, these companies now have to work for the benefit of the public in order for them to justify their existence. So now the interest of the public is converging with the interest of the capitalist. So now it's actually becoming profitable to think of the public before the individual. If you think of the public before the individual, the market will incentivize you into creating stuff which benefits society through giving you money. You get me? So with that as well, it's kind of, if we talk about the internet as well, like with the growing cancel culture and things like that, it's now becoming a thing where you get the billionaires are getting quite scared of the fact they're billionaires. They're getting quite concerned about the fact that poor people are struggling, and people are kind of getting a bit more resentful about the fact that people have money and other people don't. So they're getting quite concerned about this stuff. So even then, there's conversations around kind of universal basic income, which is basically kind of giving people free money just for the fact they exist, not having to give money for the fact that people have to work and stuff. You can just have money simply because you exist. And people are saying, oh yeah, what about if we fund the universal basic income through the money that the artificial intelligence is going to generate for society? You get me? So in that kind of sense, yeah, it's kind of slowly becoming a thing where there is money to be made in basically alleviating the issues of poverty, alleviating the issues of class inequality. If you can do these things, there's money to be made. But again, we're all calling it capitalism. We're all saying that, oh yeah, this is just the American way. We're all saying, oh yeah, we're about our money, we're about our paper. We're all saying, oh yeah, this is just what we're doing. We're not thinking about other people. But this is all a lie. This is all a lie. We are thinking about other people. We are trying to make money for the betterment of society. We are trying to produce goods which will help relax people's stress and poverty and alleviate their issues. You get me? So this is what I mean when I say we are in a state of situationship socialism. We are going on socialist states. We are having socialist intimacy. We might even be introducing each other to our socialist friends. We might even be going on socialist holidays together. We might even spend a couple days in the socialist house. Maybe you got a socialist toothbrush in the toilet. Maybe you've got a couple socialist t-shirts and underwear and a couple pairs of jeans in the socialist wardrobe. Maybe you are a little bit on the radar of the socialist mother and father and the socialist brothers and sisters. Maybe this person might be thinking that if things go well, there may be a socialist marriage. But we can't call it socialism. Because if we call it socialism, it's weird. It's delusional. It's far-fetched. We're getting ahead of ourselves. So we just enjoy the capitalism with benefits. But we know that it's more than capitalism. But we can't call it socialism. So where are we right now? We are in situationship socialism. Yeah. So anyway, that's my thoughts for today. Situationship socialism.